Time for some more Ramona. We're on chapter 5. It's called Ramona's engagement ring. So an engagement ring is a ring you get to show that you're going to get married. Who do you think Ramona wants to marry? Any guesses? She's only 5. She's in kindergarten, so I don't think she's really going to get married, do you? Maybe she's just playing. Let's find out. Chapter 5, Ramona's engagement ring. No, said Ramona on the first rainy morning after she had started kindergarten. Yes, said Mrs. Quimby. No, said Ramona, I won't. Ramona, be sensible, said Mrs. Quimby. I don't want to be sensible, said Ramona. I hate being sensible. Now, Ramona, said her mother, and Ramona knew she was about to be reasoned with. You have a new raincoat. Boots cost money, and Howie's old boots are perfectly good. The soles are scarcely even worn. The tops aren't shiny, Ramona told her mother, and they're brown boots. Brown boots are for boys. They keep your feet dry, said Mrs. Quimby, and that is what boots are for. Ramona realized she looked sulky, but she could not help herself. Only grown-ups would say boots were for keeping feet dry. Anyone in kindergarten knew that a girl should wear red shiny boots or white boots on the first rainy day, not to keep her feet dry, but to show off. That's what boots were for, showing off, wading, splashing, stamping. Ramona, said Mrs. Quimby sternly, get that look off of your face this instant. Either you wear these boots or you stay home from school. Ramona recognized that her mother meant what she said, and so, because she loved kindergarten, she sat down on the floor and she dragged on those hated brown boots, which did not go with her new flowered plastic raincoat and hat. Howie arrived in a yellow slicker that was long enough for him to grow into for at least 2 years, and a yellow rain hat that almost hid his face. Beneath the raincoat, Ramona glimpsed a pair of shiny brown boots, which she supposed she would have to wear someday when they were old and dull and dirty. Those are my old boots, said Howie, looking at Ramona's feet as they started off to school. You better not tell anybody, Ramona plodded along on feet almost too heavy to lift. It was a perfect morning for anyone with new boots. Enough rain had fallen in the night to fill the gutters with muddy streams and to bring worms squirming out on the lawns and out onto the sidewalks. The intersection by the school was unusually quiet that morning because rain had halted construction on the new market. Ramona was so downhearted that she did not even tease Henry Huggins when he led her across the street. The kindergarten playground, as she expected, was swarming with boys and girls in raincoats, most of them too big, and boots, most of them new. The girls wore various sorts of raincoats and red or white boots, all except Susan, who carried her new white boots so she would not get them muddy. The boys looked alike because they all wore yellow raincoats and hats and brown boots. Ramona was not even sure which boy was Davy. Not that he mattered to her this morning. Her feet felt too heavy for chasing anyone. Part of the class had lined up properly for the door, waiting for Miss Binney, while the rest ran about clomping, splashing, and stamping. Those are boys' boots you're wearing, said Susan to Ramona. Ramona did not answer. Instead, she picked up a smooth pink worm that lay wiggling on the playground, and without really thinking about it, she wound it around her finger. Look, yelled Davy beneath his big rain hat. Ramona's wearing a ring made out of a worm. Ramona had not thought of the worm as a ring until now, but she saw it at once, and the idea was interesting. See my ring? She shouted, thrusting her fist toward the nearest face. Boots were temporarily forgotten, and everyone ran screaming from Ramona to avoid being shown her ring. See my ring? See my ring? She shouted, racing around the playground on feet that suddenly seemed much lighter. When Miss Binney appeared around the corner, the class scrambled to line up at the door. Miss Binney, everyone wanted to be the first to tell. Ramona's wearing a worm for a ring. It's a pink worm, said Ramona, thrusting out her hand, not an old dead white worm. Oh, what a pretty worm, said Miss Binney bravely. It's so smooth and pink. Ramona elaborated. It's my engagement ring. Who are you engaged to? Asked Anne. I haven't decided yet, answered Ramona. Not me, Davy piped up. Not me, said Howie. Not me, said Eric R. Well, Ramona, Miss Binny was searching for words. I don't think you should wear your ring during kindergarten. Why don't you put it down on the playground in a puddle so it will stay fresh? Ramona was happy to do anything Miss Binny wanted her to do. She unwound the worm from her finger and placed it carefully in a puddle, where it lay limp and still. After that, Ramona raced around the playground with a worm on her finger whenever her mother made her wear Howie's old boots to school, and when everyone asked who she was engaged to, she always answered, I haven't decided. Not me, Davy always said, followed by Howie, Eric R., and any other boy who happened to be near. And then one Saturday, Mrs. Quimby examined Ramona's scuffed shoes and discovered that not only were the heels worn down, the leather of the toes was worn through because Ramona stopped her lopsided two-wheeled tricycle by dragging her toes on the concrete. Mrs. Quimby had Ramona stand up while she felt her feet through the leather. It's time for new shoes, Mrs. Quimby decided. Get your jacket and your boots. We're going to drive to the shopping center. But it isn't raining today, said Ramona. Why do I have to take boots? We have to make sure that your new shoes fit under your boots, answered her mother. Now hurry along, Ramona. Now that's kind of strange, isn't it? This is an old book, like I told you. And so back in these days, I guess, people wore their shoes under their boots. And so you had to get really big boots to wear over your shoes. And then when you got to school, you would take your boots off and your shoes would be nice and dry underneath. Good idea, but kind of strange. When they reached the shoe store, Ramona's favorite shoe salesman said, as Ramona and her mother sat down, What's the matter with my little Petunia today? Don't you have a smile for me? Ramona shook her head sadly and longingly at the row of shiny, beautiful girls' boots displayed on one side of the store. There she sat with Howie's dingy old brown boots beside her. How could she smile? A babyish preschool girl who was just wearing new red boots was rocking joyously on a shoe store's rocking horse while her mother paid for her boots. Well, we'll see what we can do for you, said the salesman briskly as he pulled off Ramona's shoes and made her stand with her foot on a measuring stick. Finding the right pair of shoes for her did not take long. Now, try your boots on, said Mrs. Quimby in her no-nonsense voice when Ramona had walked across the shoe store and back in her new shoes. For a moment, as Ramona sat down on the floor and grasped the hated boots, she considered pretending she could not get them on. However, she knew she could not get away with this trick because the shoe store man understood both children and shoes. She pulled and she yanked and she tugged and she managed to get her foot most of the way in, but when she stood up, she was on her tiptoe inside the boot. Her mother tugged some more and her shoe went all the way into the boot. There, said Mrs. Quimby, and Ramona sighed. The babyish nursery school girl stopped, rocking long enough to announce to the world, I have new boots. Tell me, Petunia, said the shoe salesman, how many girls and boys are in your kindergarten class? 29, said Ramona with a long face. 29, most of them with the new boots. The happy-booted preschool baby climbed off the rocking horse, collected her free balloon, and left with her mother. The shoe man spoke to Mrs. Quimby. Kindergarten teachers like boots to fit loosely so children can manage them by themselves. I doubt if Petunia's teacher has time to help with 58 boots. Well, I hadn't thought of that, said Mrs. Quimby. Perhaps we had better look at some new boots after all. I'll bet Petunia here would like some red boots, said the shoe man. When Ramona beamed, he added, I had a hunch that I'd get a smile out of you. And when Ramona left the shoe store with her beautiful red boots, girls' boots in a box which she carried by herself, she was so filled with joy that she set her balloon free just to watch it sail up over the parking lot, up, up, up into the sky until it was a tiny red dot against the gray clouds. Ramona's pretty happy about those new boots, isn't she? I'm going to stop there for now, but next time I'll read you the second half of this chapter, and we'll find out how Ramona likes her new boots and if she decides who she's engaged to with her worm ring. See you soon.